Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the people's channel. Home of the BitSquad, the largest and greatest crypto community in all of the interwebs. No channel works harder to keep you in the know when it comes to crypto. This is Around the Blockchain. We come to you Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about your favorite topics with your favorite guests. And if you like what the guests are saying, make sure you hit +1 in the chat. We'll give them some points. Whoever has the most points gets to say their piece at the end. But we're going to get right into it. On that top right, we have MacNCheeasy. He likes motivation, not the T.I. song, though. The good kind, that gets it going in the morning. Then on the bottom right, we have Tome Crown. You have to check out his channel. He just put out a video with Kevin O'Leary. That's right, Mr. Wonderful himself. And he's got a wonderful channel in his own right. Then on the bottom left, we got Joe. But Joe likes to spit that BS. Sleeper hits. That's right. He likes to give you those gems, those low-cap gems. Then on the top left, we have Ben, who's, I just found out today, 20 hours ago, you're a badminton champion. So, maybe fighting for America on the badminton court. Yeah, I'll buy a ticket. That's for sure. All right, but we're going to be talking about oil for the digital yuan or Chinese yuan. Then we have Microsoft investing in a MetaMask. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Microsoft investing in a MetaMask. That is huge. Also, Solana. We have an ETH co-founder. They're out there talking trash. That's right. It's ETH versus Solana. But before we get into all that, you know what time it is, everybody. It is time for us to check out these broader crypto markets, and ETH sure is pumping, and it's looking good. We have Bitcoin at 39.5, pushing right at $40,000. And ETH just blasted past 2,500, now at 26. So, Tom, I'm going to bring it to you. You're a TA guy. I know, it's a little much to expect us to blast past 40, but it happened not that long ago. I mean, is this possible, or you just think that psychological barrier is going to be too much?
Oh, yeah. Last time I was on, I think you asked me, and I think it ended up breaking. You had that little rally up there, I think the next day. It's definitely possible, but we're still just seeing this chart consolidate, lower highs, higher lows. I'm pretty much expecting that to continue out, though we are approaching here some interesting dates. We have the FOMC tomorrow. We have El Salvador looking to actually, I believe, purchase those Bitcoin bonds. So we have some catalysts in the market, and I think that's going to be really what tips the scales here.
All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. But speaking of Bitcoin and crypto in general, what are the main features of the fundamentals or the tokenomics of our U.S. dollar is that it is traded for oil countries around the globe. Oh, nice graphic, BJ. We didn't even plan that. But now we have, some of these countries, we're seeing a little bit of a reversal. We have China and Saudi Arabia now settling it in the Chinese yuan instead of USD. So this is definitely not what we want to see. It was something, I think everybody in crypto kind of maybe was a little more aware of than the average audience. But I found out today, China buys 25% of all the Saudi Arabian oil. They're doing about 6 million barrels, I think, daily. So pretty huge jump right there. Now, Mac, let's just assume, an alternative currency were going to be used besides the US dollar. I mean, would it be better to be settled in something, like a XRP or a Bitcoin, or would it be better to be settled in a digital yuan when it comes to how America and their economy falters?
It's a great question, right? Because it's either you're betting on cryptocurrency, which is this digital decentralized asset, or you're betting on, or the power goes to China in some respects. I think where the world is going, I think it'd be better to move towards a digital currency, primarily because right now the majority of stable coins in the digital economy, in the cryptocurrency realm, is settled in US dollars. So it'd kind of be like moving to the left, but it'd be coming back to US dollar stable coins. So unless it's backed by Bitcoin, right? So I think it, end of the day, I think the United States probably doesn't want either. They want to figure out how they can remain this global currency in a sense, specifically in the oil space. And it's just the news in general. As you mentioned, it's not really that surprising, right? The US dollar is becoming weaker and weaker, and something like this is borderline inevitable, and something has to change in terms of the US economy, in terms of the US government, if the US wants to remain this kind of global currency.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think, if it goes to a CBDC, you know, maybe USD can compete for a couple decades, but if it goes to Bitcoin, that could be Thanos snap in game time, and all currencies are just, you know, going to be in for a rude awakening. Now, Joe, let's just assume, you know, your corn pop, the other Joe answers your phone calls, you know, you got a voice in their ear. What can the US do to kind of stave off this maybe, you know, I don't want to say inevitable switch over, but what can the US do to, you know, maybe try to hold it off for as long as possible?
Well, I mean, I just want to say thanks again for having me back on the show, DZ, Ben, and the BitSquad. Always good to be back. And, you know, it's a really interesting time because there is a lot of turmoil in life right now. So what can they do? I guess maybe just stay as neutral as possible. But also, what I'm noticing right now with the dollar is that it's actually going up in value, which is kind of weird because we just had 7.9% inflation. So it's like, well, is it getting stronger? Is it getting weaker? What is going on here? And so I think what we really need to be focusing on is hedging all of our bets, right? And I think that this is another way to hedge a bet, right? If we can, you know, take a look at oil through the Chinese yen, it could be another way for us to, you know, we don't 100% trust the US dollar because they've been printing it like crazy. You know, let's try a different currency. Let's just give us more options. And so if I am the US right now, I'm doing everything in my power to just do like, I guess just be as neutral and just really not shake up anything any more than we already have. Because honestly, we really need some stability at this point. And that's kind of how I feel about this entire situation that we're in. It's just kind of chaos.
Yeah, you bring up the dollar getting stronger. It kind of reminds me of the old adage, I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than you. You know, we have inflation. We just don't have to inflate as bad as you. And maybe we look good in comparison. I don't know. But Ben, you know, let's play this out. You know, what kind of timeline do you give the USD just for being a, you know, supreme currency? Or, you know, is this something that, you know, maybe while your kids are still in school, it might, you know, switch over? Is this something, you know, you expect maybe towards, you know, within your lifetime, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? How long does the USD have?
Well, not very long, but there's a caveat to that because the next world reserve currency is going to be the digital dollar. So we're going to keep that reserve currency here in the United States. You can bet your bottom digital dollar on that. But that's the plan. The plan is to introduce this digital dollar and then allow it to basically be the CBDC that's transferable all across the world. And now what that does is it opens up the demand for the US dollar, because now any person that has access to an exchange that would have that on it could exchange whatever currency they have for the US dollar, where they couldn't do that before. And look, here's the fact. Fact is, we are going to start, you know, curtailing inflation. That's why we're raising the rates. You know, I was looking back at a lot of the rates over the last you know, since the 2008 financial crisis. You know, we got that thing up almost to 3% at some point. And it happened in a pretty quick span of about, I think it was about 2 years, where we went from basically, you know, like a 0.5% all the way up to almost 3%. So, you know, we're going to see that at some point. The plan, I think, this year is to get it all the way up to 2% in 1 year. And if that happens, we are going to see this swing the other direction. I think when you're looking at the Saudis and you're looking at the digital yuan, I think what we're looking at are we're going to move to a polarized world, to where we're going to have two competing world economies, where you're going to have China and Russia doing their own thing. And I guess you call it the enemy alliance, you know, all the people that are involved in that thing. You know, we'll see who takes sides with them. Maybe Germany. I don't know. Maybe not. But, you know, then you see what happens with the United States and this parallel economy that we would have going on, where everything's settled in digital dollars. Eventually, this probably leads us to one world currency, maybe Bitcoin reserve currency, but that's closer to 40, 50 years down the road. So while my kids are in school, my kids are 6, 8, and 10, yeah, I think we will see the switch of the reserve currency, and it will still fit the narrative of about 100 years for every reserve currency, because it will go from the dollar to the digital dollar. It will be considered a different currency.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating set of graphs for, you know, the currencies. But I'm reading the chat. Someone saying, you know, speaking of what Joe's point was, they had some some USDC against a Canadian dollar. And after 1 month, $1.26 turned into $1.29 USDC. So yeah, I mean, gaining a little bit, 3 cents and a month is not that bad. And it is me typing. Someone said, "Is this Ben typing?" No, it's TJ. No, it's not TJ. It's Ben's team. I'm typing. I'm getting them in. Tom, real quick question. Let's just assume we roll to the digital dollar. Will that make it harder or easier for Bitcoin to become the next digital currency or the world reserve currency? Because on one end, it seems easier because everyone's kind of has wallets and is used to digital currencies. But on the other end, maybe the U.S. government has a stronger stranglehold at that point. So will that make it easier or harder for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm going to go with easier. It's just a more compatible system, more fungibility, we'll say. The dollar is about 108 years old. The average lifespan of a currency, I believe, is 25 years, and like the median 7. This is a reserve currency, so a little different statistics maybe if we look at it that way. But the dollar is on the way out, no matter how you look at it. This is not news for Saudi. This has kind of been going on for the last maybe 6 years. They've been talking about it. It's definitely not good news for the dollar. The U.S. is likely to react in some way to this because China's a huge importer of the Saudi oil. And to have them lose, what is it, at $100 a barrel right now, times how many barrels, that's a huge amount of volume being traded there, and the dollar isn't part of it. The U.S. has, in the executive order recently even said, we're looking to maintain our global supremacy in currency, and this isn't a step in that direction. So I'm expecting to see the U.S. fire back with something soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the second topic here. We have Microsoft investing into crypto in a major way. Now, ConsenSys is what they're investing in. And just a quick background, ConsenSys is the team behind MetaMask. So if you use MetaMask, this is by ConsenSys. It's a sleeping giant in the industry. There's a long list of investors you would not expect to see or even want to see. And they just did a $450 million raise, putting their value at $7 billion. So ConsenSys value is now $7 billion. Just in November, it was 3.2. So just in those about 5 months, it's more than doubled. So we're seeing a huge growth there. And MetaMask are saying they have about 30 million active monthly users using it. Now, Ben, do you think that this is Microsoft's way of getting some Web3 exposure, or do you think they're just going to try to make this their de facto wallet for, all their applications?
Well, I mean, when you look at their purchase of Activision, right, you see that their plan is very large in gaming and very large in metaverse. We cannot, we are already to this point right now where we cannot talk about metaverse and the future of gaming in separate, strains of thought. They are the same. The future of gaming is metaverse. Metaverse is gaming. Therefore, the future of gaming is metaverse. I mean, there's no way to untangle these two things in the future. And so because of that, what you see is, because also understand this, there's also not a way to have true NFTs without crypto, right? You have to have blockchain. It's got to be a private blockchain. And on that blockchain, you got to have things that push the transactions, which is crypto, right? So because of that, that means that Web3, where they're positioning themselves for Web3, they're positioning themselves for metaverse, blockchain, and crypto. So yeah, I don't think this is everything Microsoft is doing right now, they're heavily thinking about the future of where the digital world is going. And so, yeah, they're going to be a big player. They're going to be a much bigger player than we thought they were going to be just a couple months ago or a few years ago. Microsoft is really going hard on this. And look, it's just like everything else. There's basically, I don't know what the exact number is, but there's 12 companies that own everything, they say, right? Every product you can trace back to one of, 8 or 12, kind of parent companies, In the future of gaming, it's going to be similar. You're going to have your behemoths that are behind everything. Microsoft is going to be one of these companies. And, Animoca Brands, another one, especially when it comes to Sandbox and stuff like that, that's going to be behind a lot of stuff you're not going to know they're behind. So Microsoft already positioning and leveraging themselves, to take advantage of the future. And, I applaud them.
All right. Now, Mac, we're seeing more and more of these corporations. They're getting into the space. They're buying their way a seat at the table. as this happens, you know, and extra corporations, I think BJ maybe has some sort of graph with all types of those probably all owned by the same people, but you know, will we eventually see basically a corporate takeover of crypto? Is this something that's inevitable, or in your opinion, is it maybe already here and we're just not realizing it?
That's one of the things that if you go back to when Jack Dorsey was kind of having his little Twitter feud with all of Web3, his major issue was that a lot of Web3 and crypto is just traditional corporations just in the background investing in these companies, that it's really what's going on isn't necessarily a revolution. It's kind of just more of the same. I think there's some truth to that. I mean, big players aren't going to let the space develop without their money in the game, right? There's VCs, there's people that want to capitalize on this, and end of the day, right, you can't necessarily blame them as just capitalists, right? So I think it is inevitable as we see the space growing that we're going to see bigger and bigger corporations come in. And even within like the NFT industry, right, you see Larva Labs and Yuga Labs, like you're seeing some consolidation there too. So you're seeing big money coming in and purchasing up either IP rights or ownership stakes in other companies. So I think it's inevitable. It's kind of the nature of just the economy, the capitalist economy. But I do think it's critical that as a community, as Web3 progresses, that we have to keep in mind the fundamental nature of kind of ownership and giving ownership to your users, because although Web3 may have some of these corporate entities that are investing in it, it still gives users the right to ownership, right? Not a ton of people really made life-changing money in the Web2 boom, whereas Web3 you just had to buy a Bored Ape and then now you're feeling good. Like, so there are these things that are beneficial, but I think it's just a natural progression of the market as it becomes more and more mature.
Yeah, and you know, Joe, let's talk about, you know, this Microsoft purchase, you know, as far as their, you know, investment. Do you think that this is just strictly an investment for them, or is this more for, you know, some sort of strategy? And if so, like, what do you think their strategy is?
I think it could definitely be both. I think that I think they may have recognized that MetaMask is used by at least 30 million, as we've said earlier. And one of the things I really like about MetaMask right now is that it's really pretty user friendly for most people. And so they may say, hey, look, we already have a user base, you know, but it needs upgrades, right? That's one thing that I will say about MetaMask is it needs upgrades. And so here's the investments and here's the upgrades, right? And if you compare it to other wallets right now in crypto, it definitely is lagging behind in a few areas. Now, what is their overarching strategy? I would assume that, you know, what Ben was saying is to really kind of, you know, put their nose in here and make a name for themselves with gaming and everything else. And if you look at, you know, MetaMask itself, whenever I think crypto and want to do things and get into new projects and games and all that kind of stuff, that's my go-to wallet. And the great thing about MetaMask itself is that it's kind of everywhere, right? You kind of just assume that you're going to use your MetaMask for a lot of these new cryptos and coins. Now, it does differ for, you know, blockchain to blockchain, but I will say that 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, well, what wallet are you using? MetaMask. And whenever I have new students or followers and subscribers, that's definitely my go-to. So I do think that their strategy is, you know, let's focus on what's working right now. Let's make it better. And also, you know, let's you know, really invest here, right? Put some skin in the game. I mean, this is a decent investment for sure. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick chat in the comment in the chat. They said, will there still be Windows in the metaverse if Microsoft doesn't join? No, there won't be any Windows. That's how that works. Now, Tom, I kind of want to ask you a couple price questions here. You know, one, do you think the normal stock market cares a whim about, you know, Microsoft investing in this technology they might not understand? You know, did investors get excited about this today? And two, we have Ethereum kind of outperforming Bitcoin today. Do you think this had anything to do with that?
Probably not related, unfortunately. I think it's a smart play. I think Microsoft knows what they're doing. They're dipping their toes into the NFT world. I can't think of a better way to do that than via MetaMask. I'd imagine the majority of NFTs are managed on a MetaMask wallet. It's kind of the popular, friendly, public-facing entrance to crypto, and so I love this move. I think it's really smart on their play. Affecting Ethereum in the short term, I doubt it. I haven't really looked at MicroStrategy, or not Micro, look at me, Microsoft's chart lately. I would imagine that's more likely to move on this news than Ethereum, though.
Okay, yeah. Now, yeah, we'll be interested to see if Wall Street cares, essentially, or if they even understands the value of MetaMask. I think it's going to be huge in the future, especially with Microsoft joining forces here. All right, let's talk a little Solana versus ETH. We have the Ethereum co-founder, Joseph Lublin. He had some quotes. He got a little, yes, there's the dystopian future without crypto. He called Solana unsustainable and said it has a fake it till you make it business model. Now, obviously, Solana, one of the main competitors of Ethereum, they have had some issues lately. There's been some down times. There's been, intermittent outages over the past 6 months. So a lot of people have issues with their centralization. So it's not without its, critiques for sure. But, it's interesting to see Joseph Lublin come out and just, be so hard against them here. Now, Ben, with all these issues Solana has and, kind of has a target, and not every Ethereum fan is a fan of it. And, you could point at, multitude of reasons why there are issues. But then on the other end, Solana's fast, it's cheap, it's pretty easy to use. I like the Phantom wallet, it has NFTs, has all that. Do you think Solana has a real chance to be a competitor, to Ethereum, just frankly speaking here?
I think that the important thing to understand is the fake it until you make it strategy is a pretty good one. I think it really is. I've got no problems with the fake it until you make it strategy. I think that's something that, a lot of people could use
recovery
in
thing.
life
It's a recovery
to
thing.
become more successful. Yeah, I mean, if you think about recovery, like everyone who gets off of drugs, like you don't want to at first. It sucks, because you enjoy the life you were living. You gotta live that life that you want to live. You're faking it. You're miserable, but eventually you get to where you want to get. And I think that in this case, like faking it and making it are not mutually exclusive. So Solana can certainly have been faking it and pumping the price like they obviously did. Looking at you, Sam, pumping the price out of control to get excitement, to develop more money, to actually put more money into it down the road, to make it successful. They can fake it in the beginning. I mean, look at, so many different projects I can name project after project that fits this. Cardano, Cardano kind of fits the fake it till you make it, right? Like they're a little more upfront about their slow roadmap and stuff, but everything they were talking about was arbitrary and they didn't have anything actually out. They were telling you how great it was going to be, and now it's out. It's working pretty well, but they were faking it until they make it. That's okay to do to bring in more money to your project, to push it forward. And I think that, like they can also certainly make it down the road. But right now they got a lot of problems they had to fix. I mean, look, Ethereum, it can be said, fake it till you make it. In 2015, shortly after Ethereum was launched, I think in 2013, Vitalik Buterin already knew they were going to have ETH 2.0. He already knew they were going to have an upgrade that was going to move it to proof of stake. He knew all this. But while the price was ripping in 2016, 2017, like they certainly were not, pushing the message that Ethereum is broken, So look, the tech behind Solana is really solid over the long term. In the short term, it has a lot of problems, very centralized. The idea, just like with Cardano, make it more decentralized over time. Same thing with Solana over time. It will probably get to where it wants to get, but it was not ready for this market cycle. There's, in terms of usability, dApps, functionality, it was not ready, and they certainly faked it. But that doesn't mean that it's not gonna make it. I think Solana is a very serious competitor down the road. To try to compare it right now to Ethereum is asinine.
Yeah, you definitely got me with that Cardano example. That is a good example there. And let us know, hit that like button if you think Cardano's already made it. Because a lot of people 2 years ago, they said, it's already made it. What are you talking about? But now it's
a long time ago.
It's 6 months ago is not nearly where it is today. So, they limped their way there, some would say. Now, Mac, you got the incubator, you and your hatchlings, you guys, you know more of this back end, more of this technical stuff than the rest of us here, You're one of the ones. You're the shadowy coder in the basement, that shadowy hacker that they warn us about here. Do you think this will be a dead chain? 10 years from now.
10 years from now, I don't think so. But that's not to say that it can't happen, right? Because there are so many chains, and I do think that a lot of them will be a dead chain, or a lot of them may be like an Ethereum layer 2 or a technology that's used on Ethereum. I think it's anything can really happen. I think with Solana though, like the fake it till you make it, I think Ben's point is great, right? Like you look at Tesla in the traditional securities, right? They faked it. There was probably a lot of securities fraud, in fact, that helped them stay in business. They were faking it, and they still theoretically could be faking it. But there, it's not something that we haven't seen before in markets. And I think that's part of being an innovator, and that's part of being in these new industries, is that the solutions aren't necessarily seen yet. And I think this kind of extends across all of crypto, right? A lot of like NFT projects, right? They just don't necessarily even talk about some of the things that they want to do, like giving royalties to NFT holders. They don't necessarily talk about it, because they just kind of kick the can down the road, because they're just hoping that there's more clarity as time progresses. So I think that we're in a crypto space where we are faking it, in a sense that we're learning on the fly. That faking is just another word for kind of learning it and building as you go. And we're all building. That's just the space we're in. So I think Solana has a lot of places to improve, but it's a chain that personally I'm pretty invested in, and I watch pretty closely outside of Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I have a little bit. Last time I bought Solana was just to buy NFTs. So, Joe, we saw that run up. I think I first got in around 20. Congrats. You probably got in at $2, knowing you, Joe. But, congrats. I saw it go up to 40. I think I jumped in. That was the last time I really jumped in. And then it went up to 80, went up to 100, went up to 200, went up to 250. Now, Ben, kind of alluded, there is a little centralization. There's a lot of questions pointed towards FTX as far as, the price of Solana, and even the All In podcast, they've been attacked on when it comes to Solana price. What do you think is going to take for, an average retail investor to get excited about Solana? Is it going to be essentially price goes up and then they FOMO in late, or is there going to be some sort of narrative here that does get people genuinely excited?
Well, full disclosure, I do own a little Solana, and I did end up buying some at $30. So I wasn't that early to Solana. It was one that I kind of missed a little bit, but I did scoop some up at 30. And I'll say this, the one thing that Solana really has going for it is the marketing. And in cryptocurrency, I would say like marketing has got to be at least 90% of the whole thing, right? And so they've done a tremendous job with their marketing, whether it's been good or bad. It's been out there. People are talking about it. They got to the top of the leaderboard, man. That's critical, because everyone goes to CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, all these different sites. And what do they see? They see Solana up there in the top 10. And they're going to go, oh, okay, Solana. I don't really know much about this, but I've heard it a few times. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And the crazy thing about crypto is, well, maybe it's not crazy, but the truth of the matter is people like to buy when things are pumping. They feel comfortable. They're like, oh, it's going up, it can go up higher, and it's euphoric, and then all of a sudden it stops. The musical chairs stop, and then it goes down, right? And so to me, though, the kicker with Solana is the marketing, as well as the user ability here. It has been really good. Like, honestly, if you download the Phantom wallet, works fantastic. You can do swaps right on there. You can buy NFTs very quickly. You can send your Solana from a centralized exchange right to the wallet. It's very user-friendly, and that's going to, I think, really attract people who are like, oh, I've heard of Solana. I don't know what to do, really. Maybe I've played with MetaMask or a couple of these other coins before. Let me try this out. And then they try it, and they love it. It's fast. It's cheap. It gives them everything that they want. They've heard about it. They trust it. I mean, that's the thing, crypto. You got to, they say in marketing, you got to know it. You got to like it. You got to trust it. And I think that Solana does have a lot of those things going for it. Besides the problems, okay? Like, let's be honest, it has had problems, but every cryptocurrency project has had problems, okay? I don't know one cryptocurrency project that's never had an issue. And so, to me, that's kind of where I'm where I'm at with Solana. We'll send it there.
Yeah, you show me a crypto that, hasn't had an issue. I'll show you a crypto that hasn't been stress tested by, lots of transactions per second. And real quick, I want to say that was last week's episode. That was the last time you see Joe After Dark until fall back, because, now we're spring forward an hour. Unless that, I think Mark Rubio has a bill he's trying to pass, Sunshine Protection Act.
Excuse me, I have a big announcement. This is the biggest political win in the history of my lifetime. I just tweeted this and people told me to pay attention to the show. Is that now officially starting in 2023, we will have no more time changes in the United States. Daylight savings time, which is the time we're on right now, is now permanent.
All right. I'm all about it. Keep the sun.
Right?
Yeah. Make the sun great again. That's what I say.
It just happened.
All right.
That's coming in hot.
To daylight savings.
I saw that there, but yeah. All right. Well, Tom, real quick, I want to show some prices real quick. So Ethereum right now, I have it up here on the screen. If you could share that real quick. Thank you, BJ. Ethereum 2,600. So not even, it's past half its all time. It can't even 2x to reach that. So that'd be what, 52.79. So yeah, below, above half. But then we go to Solana, they're a third. So they could still 3x and just be meeting, their all-time high. Ethereum can't even 2x before it hits an all-time high. Tom, what are the charts selling you, or telling you here? You got someone, they want a blue chip. They like, both the chains. They know both are probably, stronger than, some crazy altcoin with the $700,000 market cap. What do the charts tell you as far as their price action? I mean, we have Solana and ETH. They're both up 4 or 5%. So they're up equally here. Is there anything, is one of them kind of standing out in any kind of special way here? I guess he's pulling up the charts. He's got the shades. He's looking at them.
Lose you? No, sorry, my connection just froze. Solana in 2021 did like a 15,000% gain, right? I think it started trading down near $1. We saw it up at 250. Ethereum, that gain was a little smaller percentage-wise. I never have an objection to people entering what I consider small cap, though I would say Solana is not really a small cap anymore. I think there's a lot more risk there, though, simply because you don't have the historical diamond hands that you have in, say, Ethereum or Bitcoin. These people have seen 80-90% drops. They've held through it. They've bought through it. People jumping into Solana over the last year or two, they haven't. They don't have the tempered hands. And so I would say make your investments aligned with maybe that thought process. Maybe you can pick up both, likely a smaller bag for things with higher risk and higher return. But Solana, I will say it is very active, their GitHub. So there's a lot of development going on. I was surprised when I looked that up. They have many commits on a weekly basis, which seems wildly active, actually.
I actually like that analogy. You think of a Bitcoin maxi, you think of like an XRP army. They've been battered. We've been battered. We've been beaten. We've been wounded. We're we got bandages. We got our head all wrapped up. We got things leaking out of our ear. Yeah, there's a lot of people they haven't felt that pain. So yeah, I like that. All right, well that is all we got time for, and it looks like it's going to the badminton champ, the protector of the sun, not Justin's son. Ben, go ahead, leave us with some parting thoughts. You won your own show again.
Won my own show. It's I'm super excited. I was going to take my time here to talk about daylight savings time and how excited I am. This has been something I've been hoping and praying for my lifetime, because who loves depressing December days where it's 5:30 and it's already dark? Screw those days. Get out. Do something positive. Love life. So,
if you're happy about that, hit that like button. That's all we got time for. Check out the other channels. Meta Money, Frankie Candles, NFT Alpha. And that's all we got time for, BitSquad. Easy out.